Kelly, how are you?
Hi, doing well. Doing good.
Kelly is joining us from Missouri, United States. She is a dancer, a choreographer, and a teaching artist. Welcome, Kelly, to Emerging Trends.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So, Kelly, for our viewers, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself and how you started dancing and why did you choose dance as your career?
Oh, yes. Okay. So this is a long story, so I'll try to keep it short. So yes, my name is Kelli Forman. I'm originally from Missouri, currently in Amherst, Massachusetts with my husband's family because of COVID-19. I am, yes, a dancer, a choreographer, a teaching artist, but I have also done a lot of work in the commercial realm, a lot of work in the academic realm, and then also a lot of work in the community building, non-for-profit art sector, and doing advocacy for equity and access in arts education. So these are things that make up, I say I'm a dancer, but there's all of these aspects of arts pathways that I've investigated. And right now I'm investigating the international teaching circuit, which is a whole nother area to push everything. So I've been traveling internationally and teaching, but then outside of dance, I'm a healer. So I'm a massage therapist. I have done a lot of yoga. I do energy work, energy healing. I channel. There's a lot of things that have been, moving from the healing space into my art and into my dance. So I would have to say that both of those are very much like this. It's just on the outside, it looks like dancing. But on the inside and the way that we work with people as teaching artists is more focused on healing. Those of us who do healing practices, our teaching is our healing. So yeah, I just wanted to say that's kind of who I am. And I'm also married to an academic who's also a dancer. We met in New York City. His name is Jed. So that is what we both do. So yeah, I started dancing when I was 5 years old. I took ballet. I was in the class with my hands like this trying to learn. But I think it didn't hit me till I was 16 years old and I saw a TV show, So You Think You Can Dance. And I just started crying when this woman started dancing so beautifully and authentic. Her name was Allison Holker. And she had gotten kicked off the show or something, and she was so emotional when she was dancing. And I started crying, and I realized that's what I want to do. I want to dance. I want to inspire. So after that, I got obsessed with training. I would drive hours to train. I worked 3 jobs so I could pay for classes. I moved to New York City. I just worked really, really hard, and I got an agent, made it to the last cut of So You Think You Can Dance in Vegas.
Okay.
It was easier for me to get an agent. And then from there, the rest is kind of history as far as my professional career. I mean, things just really lined up in the commercial aspect in New York and LA. And then I would say probably 4 or 5 years into that career path, I realized I wanted to go back to community work, to that, to step away from the craziness that LA can be. It kind of can get to your head. You start to really start thinking about the self a lot. So I was like, okay, so LA can get kind of crazy. You begin to have a lot of your thoughts become very self-involved. Everything is about the self, your image, your work. And I was feeling like, okay, I think it's time to learn how to heal others, heal myself, and then do more community work. So that's when I switched to massage therapy, and then that switched into community work, non-for-profit, dance education. And then I went back to school because I realized if I get my undergraduate degree in dance, and I go through this whole process at age 25, it's going to help people down the road to have that degree. So even though I'm not, I get all A's, but I'm not a school person. It's like, in class, I'm sitting there, I'm like working for the nonprofit full time as I'm like in class, trying to finish this degree. But yeah, and then after that, basically my husband had to come to India for his PhD research. He was on a Fulbright scholarship, and we got to go there for a year. I was not planning on dancing in India, but what ended up happening is, about 6 months in, I got connected to a crew called the Ace Dance Crew, and the rest is history from there. I started teaching across India, and then having that under my belt, it was easier for me to start teaching internationally in Brazil, UK, and other areas. So yeah, that's kind of the path in a nutshell. Yeah.
But I think one of the most interesting journey I have ever heard on this platform till now is yours, because it's
wow, thank you.
Yeah, it's peppy, and from dancing, how you gotten into community work, that's commendable.
Thank you so much.
So Kelli, since we are talking about emerging trends, I would like to know that what are the challenges you faced as part of your profession post-COVID, after the lockdown and after the COVID came into existence?
Yeah, so I mean, I went to India, back to India. We took a 2-month break, and I did some other teaching, and then came back, and we had I had 4 months lined up of work. So I'm talking about Jaipur, Bangalore, Chennai, Kolkata, Delhi, of course, Mumbai, even smaller areas like Dharamshala, and then we had Sri Lanka lined up for 2 weeks. So we had literally, I was teaching almost every day for 4 months. And then 2 weeks into that, teaching in Delhi and then traveling to Mumbai and to Jaipur for the first couple weekends, is when my husband was like, we can't stay here. We got to go back. And I was in denial until I really looked at the numbers. And we got an email from the US Embassy, because he was on scholarship, and the email was saying, you got to go back. Like, planes are going to shut down soon, like from here to there. So we had to cancel everything. And I think it didn't really hit me until a week into being back in Missouri. We were in Missouri for that first 2 months. Because when you're so excited and you've built up all these connections with hundreds of people in India, and you just can't wait to work with them. Like I said, teaching is healing for me. So in my mindset, I'm like, we have this whole healing situation that's going to happen, and we're going to connect to each other, and we're going to raise our global connectiveness through this work. And then it really hit me like a week back. I grew up at Lake of the Ozarks, Missouri. It's a very small town. and it's a big lake, and it has this this feeling of, also it's very cozy, but it felt very old. The place we were staying in was old. So I remember sitting there and it just really hitting me that it was not going to happen. Like all of those things that we had planned out, even past India, going back to Europe on the way back to the US, like all of the work that I was gonna do in Europe. I say we because my husband's with me, and sometimes he teaches. Yeah. So basically, all of that had to put on pause. And then when we got back, the idea of live stream classes and Zoom online dance classes was just starting to develop. So it wasn't like, okay, you're good, So I filed for unemployment, which I've never done because I always work. I've always worked since I was 13 years old. I've worked multiple jobs. I filed for unemployment. I tried to start a meditation online project, and then it really hit that, okay, Zoom classes are the way to go. So I started setting up some Zoom heels workshops. I mainly teach heels, contemporary, and Chicago footwork, which are radically different forms. But they're all aspects of the parts that that make up me. And it's a blessing to be able to share that while you're online with people from all over the globe. But it took a while to figure out how to teach online, how to take class online. And we were also doing, for the first month and a half, like a meditation retreat type, like it's open. But then I think things became more and more solidified to the point where we're having whole camps online. So I'm working with my crew, Creation Global. It's a Chicago Footwork crew, and we are putting together the first ever online Chicago Footwork camp, and that's happening in August. So basically, for the past 3 months, we've been planning it out.
Right.
Go follow it at CFology. It's dope, incredible teaching lineup, but I think it's going to make history. I think there's going to be really positive effects from this camp. It's a really big deal for an underground style such as Chicago Footwork. But anyway, so we've been developing how to do battles online, how to do this camp online, how to do panel discussions, talkbacks with the teachers. So it's been this whole new wave of technology, but the cool thing is there's no boundaries now with location. So you're really talking about, in one class, you got somebody from London, Japan, India, US, Brazil, like literally the whole world is now able to come together on a consistent basis and train with each other and share languages with each other. And I mean, I'm just getting chills thinking about, what we've been able to do over Zoom. But then also one more aspect of the programming we're trying to get going with the crew is we've started these Instagram group chats where people train together. So in India, we got 4 group chats in India because there's so many people who footwork. So you got about 10 people in each group, 10 to 15, and you give them challenges either by video or explaining on a text or something. And then everybody has to share their challenge, meaning like, do this combination and, whatever the challenge might be, and then share the video. And it's been a really cool way to train with people and connect with people even from afar. And I've had messages privately saying, hey, without this chat group And without these challenges, I want to get out of bed some days, because some people are really depressed right now. I mean, artists, and especially if the dancers aren't supported by their family, so we've found some ways to connect a bit more. And I think those are kind of the two main things, is like the Zoom and the IG for the community building. And then I'm involved with some like global meditation projects we've been working on. But I think right now, while I'm on unemployment, and it's coming from money from the government, from tax dollars, I want to do as much community volunteer work as possible. So I pretty much am working a 9 to 5, if not more, job right now, doing community work.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah.
So I think you sort of talked about the long-term competitiveness, because I think you've already evolved a business model where eventually you will succeed. What are the other creative de-risking ideas you come across during the lockdown, and how are you? What's your take on it, or how are you handling them?
So can you explain a bit more what you mean by de-risking, just so I'm
So you say that you employment at the moment, you're getting unemployment from the government, but at the same time, sometime in future, you want to get out of that and you want to start making your own money as a professional. So
Yeah.
what are the steps you've taken to get there?
Yeah. I mean, I think every day, with the connective work, I mean, I'm an international teaching artist.
Okay.
So the more that we can connect right now internationally, or hop on a call and have a one-on-one conversation with a studio owner and invite them to our camp and do those type of personal connections, I think it's kind of interesting to say, okay, when I was in LA and I would go to the audition, what I had to sell was my image. I had to be great. I had to be strong. I had to have my hair, my makeup perfect. I had to get the choreography, and I had to make rent. So I worked really hard, and I booked a lot of gigs because I went in there and I gave 100%. Okay, that's like that. Okay, for nonprofit work, you got to make sure all your systems are in check, and you got to, make sure you get back to people within 24 hours, and you talk with the parents, and you give the proper programmatic, programming to the kids, and, you put on the shows and do the fundraisers. So that's a whole nother thing. With international teaching, the number one thing that people miss, besides marketing online, is connections, is that human to human connection. Because it doesn't matter how good of a dancer you are, a teacher, if you do something inappropriate, and you might not even know it's inappropriate because it's a different culture, so you gotta know the culture you're going into, you will never get invited back by that organizer. So you're talking about losing potential income for yourself and for all your crewmates or anyone you could have ever connected, right? And for me, as a white woman doing Chicago Footwork, it's really important that I make a good impression so I can recommend people who are from the African American community from Chicago. So if I'm going to be a bridge, I better be a sturdy one, So it's a lot of pressure to make sure that you're connecting, but it's not just that type of fake connection. It's one of those things where you really have to be grounded in yourself and know the importance of the work you're doing, so that when you communicate it to people, it's very authentic. And then you only connect with people who you feel authentic with. So it's this whole discernment, grounding type of personal work that thankfully my mentor, King Charles, is very good at. He's been doing it for 10 years.
Okay.
And just watching how I think in love he is with people has really inspired me to just be more aware of, I think, how different people are around the world, you know, teaching internationally. So if that explains what our work is, we are setting up platforms, but what's going to ensure future work in our field is that personal connection, that professionalism, and really knowing the mission of what we're doing, very clear with the overall mission. And I think also trying to co-support, because right now dance studios all over the world are either shutting down or, you know, they're just really tough. Like Misbehaving Beautifully has online classes, and when Sri Lakshmi asked me to do it, yes.
Yeah.
I don't even care what you pay me right now. Like, yes, because we have that connection of Misbehaving Beautifully was one of the first studios that
Right.
Chicago Footwork was taught in India. So I have such an honor for having that space at that time. And so we have that connection. So yeah. So besides that, I'm doing a lot of research on Chicago Footwork. I will write, don't tell many people, but I will write a book about it within the next 3 to 10 years, depending on how much we want to go into it. There's it's an underground dance style. It's not as popular as tap and jazz, but it's the roots of it will show the importance of this foundational style of an American art form. So I have a lot of research going on right now with that. So that'll be some future projects. And then, like I said, just a lot of community building, a lot of mentorship, so that when I go to these places in person, we've already built a foundation of relationship, you know. Yeah.
So, Kelli, thank you so much for being on this platform. I'm sure that you will be able to inspire a lot of women, because at the moment, I think you're lucky in certain aspects because you have government support. In developing countries, there is no support at all and people are struggling. But I think the healing work, what you're doing is wonderful. And I really, really appreciate you being on this platform. Thank you so much for being here. If you're new to my channel and you have not subscribed till now, do subscribe. Thank you so much, Kelli.
Oh, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.